Hi, I'm Matt Woods from Korum, where our ethos is fish for everything. You join me at a venue that's absolutely perfect for that, Baden Hall's Middle Pool. There's everything that swims living in here, and I'm going to try and catch whatever comes along. Right, for my setup today, I've got two Korum all-rounder rods. All-rounder by name, all-rounder by nature. Everything in here I reckon I can realistically catch on those. They're a 1.5 pound test curve, but they're really through action, so if I do hook a carp or something, I'm not really going to have much trouble landing it. Now, primarily, what I'm trying to catch is the perch that are in here are really nice fish. It'd be nice to get some of those. So on this rod, I've got a running rig with a few natural baits, a bit of worm dirt, a few maggots, that kind of thing. So you'll notice I've got the bite indicator set really slack, and I've got this set. Basically, as soon as that moves, I'm going to know about it and get an indication. With this, I'm fishing across to the far margin where the sun's shining. I think there'll be a few bream, maybe some chub and barbel, and certainly some carp patrolling that far side, warming themselves. It's quite a cold day, but in that sun it's quite warm. So with this rod, you can see I've got my indicator set right at the top, because what I'm expecting is plenty of indication really quickly. The rod's just going to probably launch off really fast. On this rod is more of a bolt rig setup. It's like a heli rig. So as soon as a fish picks it up, I'm going to know about it. Looks like we've got a bite off the far margin. Oh, here we go. And I said we saw some carp on the far side. Sure enough, that's what we've got, I think. Big drop back bite, which is not out of the ordinary when you're using those little heli rigs. It's such a short rig, you really do catch the fish off guard. And I suspect what's happened there, the fish has just picked up the feeder, dragged it down the shelf, started swimming towards me. The bite indicator dropped really fast, and we've got our first fish of the day, hopefully. Quite a good fish, he's just kiting round. As you can see, what I'm doing, I'm just keeping the rod low. You can see the lovely action on the all-rounder. A fantastic rod. I can just hold it still, hold the fish, stop him from making a big charge, and then when he runs out of steam, just bring him back towards me. If I put the rod in the air, what I tend to find with carp a lot of the time, you bring them up in the water and it stresses them out a little bit and they fight a little bit harder, which can sometimes mean losing fish. On a barbless only venue like this is a really good way to play your fish to the bank. He's swimming right towards me. Now this is where the action on the all-rounder really comes into its own. You've got a decent fish, it's a nice common. As you can see, he's just woken back up again. And with the rod, with the action it's got, it's just giving and letting that fish get on with it. I'm only using 8 pound mainline today, and I'm using a quick stop hair rig in a size 10. But the big fish quick stop hair rigs, like I say, they're really tough, really strong. So it doesn't matter if you hook a common like this, or one even bigger, you're not going to have too much problem getting him out. And so before long, I think he'll be ready for the net. He's had his fill. Still a little bit cold for the time of year, so he's run out of puff a little bit earlier. In he goes. How about that? How about that then? A bit of Baden gold on a rig intended for the bream, but we saw some carp showing on the far side, and this was the result. A great fight on the all-rounder, a lovely fish. We'll pop it back and see if we can get some more, but how about that for a great start? How about that for a super simple rig that even someone like me can cast out and not tangle? It uses the Korum Ready heli kits and a short 4-inch quick stop big fish hair rig. Now the big fish hair rigs are real nice for this kind of fishing because you've got a much stronger hook and much stronger line, and what that does, as you can see, it really kicks it out, so when I spin it around there's no chance of it getting tangled. That anti-tangle sleeve is working perfectly every time. And at the bottom end I can swap between an open end feeder, a combi feeder, whatever I want to use, just quickly swap it over at the bottom, and there you have it. When it sits on the bottom, that short rig will be sitting right next to the feeder. It's great when the fish are feeding aggressively, and it hooks them almost straight away like a bolt rig. Well, I was just about to redo the margin rod, which is a running feeder rig that is primarily being cast out to try and catch some of the nice perch in the lake, and the rod on the far margin, the little heli rig, has rattled off again, and it's definitely another carp. He's fighting around all over the place. It's always the case on these sort of late winter, early spring sessions that the carp want to be where the sun is, where the warm water is, and today is no exception to that rule. There you can see he's a little bit smaller than his mate. Oh, just woke up. He seen me and said, I don't like the look of him. At this part of the fight, it's very easy to get a bit overexcited and try and rush getting the fish in the net, but he'll give up when he wants to give up. I've got my clutch set to just give line if he fights a little bit too hard, and the rod is cushioning those subtle movements he's making perfectly. And of course, if he goes a bit quick, rather than fighting him, I'm just lowering the rod towards the fish. You can see I'm not carrying on winding any more line. I don't really need any more line to net the fish. I mean, if anything, sometimes on a short line they're much harder to net, so try and keep in mind that the length of your rod is about the amount of line you want to have in front of you with the fish on the end. So now, I mean, I probably won't touch this reel again before I get the fish in the net. He looks well beaten out. It's just a case of easing him towards the folding triangle. In he goes. Lovely job. There you go, it's another one on the worm, another one on the heli rig. Couldn't get simpler, this style of fishing. Absolutely brilliant. My perch rig is really simple. I've got a size 8 all-rounder hook, one of the new Super Steel models, absolutely perfect for perch. I've got a 6-pound smokescreen hook link, and then a running feeder on one of our small camo running rig clips. But the best thing about this setup for me is this bead and how simple it is to use. We call it a turbo bead. Basically, inside the bead is a little slot, and inside that slot semi-fixes a little clip. That means I can get my hook length with a loop, take it off, swap it for a new one, secure it all down, and I'm ready to fish. It's absolutely perfect for running rig fishing when you're trying to be a bit more subtle like this. So the feeder itself is a combi mesh feeder. I want the bait to come out quickly. This is perfect for that. Again, chop worms, maybe a few maggots or something later on, and see if we can't pick out one of those lovely stripies. Well, that was a really interesting bite. I wasn't really sure whether the fish was on or whether it was just a liner or something. I'm fishing a really tight line across to the far side, so I decided to wait, and despite us urging it along to rip line, it just didn't, and then eventually it just roared off, just like you expect from a carp. The fish has kited up the lake a little bit, scared all the birds off, giving me a real good scrap actually. And now he's swimming towards me as I say that. One thing I really love about Baden Hall Middle Pool is there's quite a good variety of fish actually. They come in all sorts of shapes and sizes, predominantly commons, around the same sort of size as you've seen already, but there are some much better fish. There's even a ghost mirror in here that's 27, 28 pound. You can't believe it, as most of the fish are sort of scraper doubles, something like that. The mirrors in here are absolutely stunning. I'd love to get one of those today, but at the moment it looks like we're going to have to settle for another Baden Hall Gold Bar common carp. Who's got my line caught around his dorsal fin? You see it? It's come off now. Same as before, I'm not really looking to reel any more line on now. I just want to keep the fish away from any danger. There are a few sort of bits of twigs and overhanging trees and stuff I want to keep him away from, but as you can see, I'm quite happy to let him run around. This lovely through action of the all-rounder rod is absorbing all those lunges, and the clutch on the neoteric is purring beautifully when he decides to take a bit more line. It's another lovely common on the worm on that very, very short quick stop hair rig. He's about the same size as the last one. Well, if you ever needed any proof that Baden Hall fishery's got a bright future, I'm holding it in my hands. Look at that. I'm sure this is a fish that's been spawned on in the lake. His mouth and everything is just too clean. He's like a brand new penny. A lovely bar of gold. Let's pop him back. I'm sure we're going to catch some more. There must be a lot of fish over there because the bites are coming thick and fast. That heli rig seems to be just what they want in this freezing cold water. Right, my mix today has been really simple. It's just worms and the mud that they live in. Chop up the worm, add a little bit of water and put it in the combi feeder. Well, now I want to try and catch some other species, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to add a bit of fish meal, something nice and smelly, something that's really sticky. And this 1-to-1 paste is primarily used for fishing with paste. You know, you add an egg to it or a little bit of water and you can make it a nice paste for pole fishing. But I want something sticky to hold these worms, and they're quite big baits and everything in the feeder, so this will be perfect. It smells incredible. It's got loads of crushed pellets, loads of nice koi feed and stuff like that in there. The carp are going to love it, the bream are going to love it. It might even attract a few predators as well. I'm going to give that a mix now, add some water to it and see if it makes a difference. Well, this is a bite, absolute screamer on the running rig. Fantastic action today. The carp are really enjoying the little warmer spell of weather. I might even have a double take here unless the fish has gone through my other line. Yeah, absolutely superb. This rod, I repositioned it actually. The margin spots weren't really doing anything in the shade. It seems to be today that the fish want to be over in the warm, on the bank where the sun shines, shining down the hardest. And again, the worms have done the trick. That little bit of fish meal in the ground bait has definitely brought a quicker reaction. The rod's been in the water for something like a minute, 2 minutes, something like that. So I'm really happy, because it means today I've caught them on both different setups. So most of the fish have come on the little bolt rig, but this time it's the turbo bead with the running combi feeder behind it. Absolutely perfect for this style of fishing, this style of venue. And on another day and another swim, we probably wouldn't have seen a carp all day. I think we'd have probably just been catching the bream. But as it goes, we've got some lovely carp putting a bend in the rod. You can't beat it. This looks like a Baden Hall mirror. There aren't so many mirrors around today, but it seems we've got there in the end. He's scrapping really hard. The rod's doing a grand job under the rod tip. The light's fading. This will probably be the last cast of the day after this, so it's time to pack up and head home, ready for the next day session. I'll tell you now, I can't wait. Oh, he's pretty as well. Nice fish. And there you go. Another fish that I reckon's been spawned on in the lake. A real beautiful mirror, lovely and clean. Fought really hard. He's got a real interesting barbule actually. It looks like a little fork in the end of the one side. Mutant fish at Baden Hall, perhaps that's why they grow so fast. Well, I'm really happy with that. Some lovely fish today, on the bolt rigs, on the combi feeders, on the running rigs. You can't beat it on a cold February day.